All right, like every football coach in the country, everybody's happy with the number of recruits they got. I think that there's something particular about this class that we signed, and Tony White's our recruiting coordinator and did a great job leading the charge to get this kind of class. We're still hoping we're going to get another guy signed about 2 o'clock this afternoon that will be a great addition to this staff or to this class. But our coaching staff did a nice job of recruiting, and Tony did a great job of organizing them. And we got what we thought was a very talented athletic class. 90% of these guys are two-sport athletes. Several of them play basketball as well as football. Some of them play baseball as well as football, and some of them are three-sport athletes that run track also. So we got 6 or 5 offensive linemen on here. Their average height is 6'5", and their average weight is 320 pounds. And now we're talking mostly about high school kids, but we do have 5 transfers here already. That's why we have 27 guys on that list instead of 25, because when they're here early, if you have scholarships from a year before, you can count them backwards. So those 5 that are here already on scholarship, we count them backwards. And at the end of the day, hopefully we'll have another young man on there. And it's a good class of real good athletes and gigantic offensive line. And that's what I told Tony we needed, and the coaches did a nice job of getting them.
Rocky, you talked about 90% of these guys maybe being two-sport athletes. Have you ever had that before, where the rosters run that deep with multi-sport guys?
Not as deep as this class, but that when we went out recruiting, that was part of the plan. The way football is going now, I mean, last year we played 3 triple option teams. We played about 5 spread teams, and we played 2 pro teams. You have to have athletes. You can't be pigeonholing guys. There's only one spot on our football team that size is a factor, and that's in the offensive line. Those guys have to be monsters, not because anybody knocks anybody off the ball anymore, but they sumo wrestle each other, and the bigger and stronger your guys are, the better chance you got. And then when you pass protect, they've got a lot farther to run around you, so the quarterback has a little better protection. But we specifically went out to get dual and triple sport athletes because of the kind of offenses we got to adjust from going against the triple option to the spread from week to week. So you have to have athletes. You can't say we need linebackers. What you need is big, tall, long athletes that can play at a bunch of different positions.
Coach, the kid who signed, I think it was the latest signing,
Tizivil, yeah.
I guess where do you guys envision him playing? Is he sort of like an Aztec type player, or?
Well, see, he's one of those athletes. He could play safety. He plays mostly linebacker. At the high school, he plays mostly linebacker. But he played some on offense too. We told him he's a linebacker. That doesn't mean that's where he'll play. He thinks he's a linebacker. You know, some of our linebackers on there, if you look at their sizes, you know, they're really tall and some of them are really heavy. Well, that also means they can be defensive ends really easily. And then we have some guys on there that we say are athletes, and that's because we don't know where they fit. Because they're 6'2", they weigh over 200 pounds, they run track, they play baseball, they play basketball. I mean, we got one guy there from Arkansas that won the state 200 meters last year and was the runner-up in the 100 meters, and he's favored to win the 100 and the 200 meters this year. He's 6'2" and 215 pounds. He played linebacker, he played safety, he played defensive end, he played running back, he played wide receiver, he was the guy they put back at quarterback when they went to the whatever that's called, what the pros call that, yeah, Wildcat or whatever they want to call it, offense.
Speaking of Arkansas, I don't recall anybody from Arkansas ever being in this program, but perhaps there has been. But you also got at least a half a dozen guys from
I think it has to do with how hard our guys recruited. We, as everybody in this room knows, we had a changeover in staff, basically right in the middle of recruiting. So the guys that were still on staff did a great job of recruiting, but they all have areas. And Coach Horton is our Texas recruiter, and he was in Texas hard and did a great job recruiting in Texas. And a couple of the other spots in California were kind of left unattended for a while because of the change in the coaching staff. So you get players where you can get players. And Jeff did a great job of recruiting in Texas. And then once we got the players we were recruiting in Texas, the other coaches, assistant coaches, went in there by position. And we actually are a little disappointed. We thought we were getting one more guy from Texas than we did.
Talk about your receiving corps that you recruited this year, wide receivers.
The idea with the wide receivers in this class was to get explosive players that could turn short passes into long plays. If the young man signs with us at 2 o'clock, that'll be another one in that line. What we don't have, and we were actually looking for one, is we were looking for a wide receiver that's one of those giants, one of those 6'5", 230-pound guys that can muscle other people for the ball. And we didn't get one of those guys. Now, what we plan on doing is putting some of our tight ends who are 6'5", 260 that catch the ball really well, put them out at wide receiver. We're not very smart here, but we can watch pro football and see what they do at New England. And we don't have any those guys here, but we got guys that look like him and might be him someday, so we can put those guys out at wide receiver and let them muscle people for the ball.
Coach, talk about the Sdsu kid. I mean, he was a Washington State commit, and then now he's committed. Now he's signed with you guys. Were you guys in on him from day one, or did you get in late? How did that work out?
No, we recruited him from day one. That's just in. Tony White was the guy that recruited him from start to finish. And it's just a matter of maintaining a relationship throughout the whole process, because a lot of things change. In fact, we had 2 or 3 guys that had been committed to us from last June that changed their minds in the last 2 weeks and went someplace else. So through the recruiting process, those kids come up with different priorities than they started with. And things change with a lot of people. So if you maintain a relationship with the young man and things start to change in his wants and likes and all that stuff, sometimes they come back in the fold with you, and that's what happened with him.
Coach, Jack Bailey kind of came on your radar during the camp you guys had here, correct? I remember
2 years ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk about your relationship with him.
Well, we do get lucky since we have passing camps here every summer, 2 weekends of them. We get to see a lot of players play. And he came as a sophomore here and played extremely well in the passing league. And so we checked his film out and we offered him as a sophomore. And this doesn't usually happen. But since we were the first ones to offer, first ones to recruit him, he's been very loyal to us and stayed with us all the way until his senior year, and now is signed with us, even though he's been recruited by a multitude of schools throughout the last couple of years. And that's probably because he's from here and wants to stay here. I'm guessing that's it. It's not our personality, but, yeah, it helps to get on him early if you can.
Coach, Jack Bailey was actually the only guy from San Diego that you recruited as a freshman. Was that more by coincidence, or was that because Horton did such a good job in Texas and took up a lot of the scholarships?
No, and I'm sure high school coaches, I hate to say this because I'm sure high school coaches will disagree with me. There weren't as many in our opinion, there weren't as many senior football players that we thought were Division I caliber. Even the guys that came from here and went to other schools, Division I-wise, it was about a third of what normally comes out of San Diego. Now, that is not the case next year. Okay, there's a lot more guys in next year's senior class that, in our opinion, meets those standards. So when there's not as many here, you got to go someplace else to recruit. Now, I think there's some really good football players in this town that were an inch or two too short, 20 or 30 pounds too light, that are going to be really, really good football players someday. And we have reached out to those guys and have tried to convince them to walk on, because we've had great success with walk-ons here earning scholarships. And some of them are still thinking about it. A couple of them already told us they are coming. And they have a chance, if they get bigger and stronger and all that, that eventually they'll be scholarship players for us.
What's the current situation with Tyree Range? Is he official, unofficial? I don't know if you commented on that. Is he committed? But he's not on your sheet, so I'm just not sure where we're at.
Since he didn't sign with us, I can't talk more about him, but that's what I'm talking about, walk-on type guys, you know, that I think someday will be scholarship players, if that makes sense to you. Okay.
Rodney, I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about where recruiting is here now as opposed to 5 or 6 years ago. Are the doors easier to get open? Are the kids more receptive to the
I think,
state now?
yeah, I appreciate the question. I think that as far as attracting young people here, it's the same as it's always been. I think it's very difficult because the caliber of player we're trying to recruit is getting recruited by a whole bunch of other people. Now, saying that, I think we're in more homes of those kind of guys than we ever were before. We're being accepted into the recruiting process much, much better than we've ever been before. And if you actually investigate these young people on here, we're getting more and more kids that are getting highly recruited than we have before. I think the process of getting them interested in coming here has improved with our success, but I still think getting them here is just as hard as it ever was.
Coach, the two Hawaii kids, I mean, when you look back on you guys recruiting over the last few years, did Dakota sort of open that Hawaii pipeline for you guys? Is there any relation to kids that you guys got today?
They all know Dakota, if that makes a difference. No, I think there's good players in Hawaii, and I think us being as close as anybody else gives us a chance to attract some of those kids. I mean, there's a history of Hawaii players that have played here in the past, and a lot of them are back in Hawaii. Some of them are actually coaching back in Hawaii. So we have some ins there that give us a chance to get some good players out of there.